Edward Brown, host of The Best of Investing, here to remind you to tune in this week on Saturday at 8 p.m. Our guest is going to be Nathan Turner. You're not going to want to miss this show. That's The Best of Investing on Saturday at 8 p.m. Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate given away during this show. That certificate's not sponsored by the radio station, but by Tan Bella Tanning Salon with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. Today's trivia theme is science, or as what was the movie, right? Science. Okay. And today we do have a special guest, Jason Mandel of Mandel Family Office. And do a little background here. Tax strategies that your CPA doesn't mention, which is good to have on now because we're right in the heat of tax season. Let's see here. Mr. Mandel has 25 years of entrepreneurial experience in financial services and risk management. He's the founder of the Mandel Family Office and was a principal of Sky Gem Advisors, a business consulting firm. Previously, he was a partner at Soundview Strategic Advisors and HM Fund Management, and he's also held positions at LaFrac Organizations, D.E. Shaw, and Cantor Fitzgerald. Hey, Jason, welcome to The Best of Investing.
Edward, thank you so much for hosting me today. I am ecstatic to be here with you.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, the one sad thing is whenever I hear Cantor Fitzgerald, of course, I have to think about 9/11. Where were you working for them at that time? Or
no, I had started my career there after graduating Brandeis University in Boston in 1995. I left Cantor by 1998. I am sad to tell you that I lost so many coworkers and friends. It was a pivotal moment in my life. After losing these people, I realized how precarious life really can be. And it was something that I'll never forget. I'll never forget the great people that I worked with, and I will always. I've always kind of since that time kind of worked in their honor. And I felt the fact that I wasn't there, and I'd been invited to join them back earlier in 2001. I had not taken the opportunity to go back.
Wow.
It was very, very emotional for me, and I go to the website cantorfamilies.com where I see the coworkers, and I realize that. I have been blessed to have been spared, of course, and I think about those people, and it plays a pivotal role in my life. It really does, that event.
Gotcha.
We'll never forget it.
And for the audience who may either not remember or don't know, Cantor Fitzgerald was one of the companies that had one of the top floors in at least one of the Twin Towers that came down at 9/11.
The top 4 floors were all Cantor Fitzgerald. Yeah,
was that what it was? Yeah. God, that's just incredible. So on that sad note, we'll turn to something more happy, like taxes. Right?
Exactly.
Taxes, right. Okay.
That's right.
So let's see here. What are some free tax-free income plans? Let's start off with that.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. So, after I left Cantor, I went to D.E. Shaw, a very large hedge fund, and then I went to work for the LaFrac family, a very wealthy real estate organization in New York. I started to get exposed to some interesting strategies for the ultra wealthy. And by January of 1999, I started my own firm. And my focus was to provide innovative tax-focused solutions that most of Wall Street wasn't focused on. And it became a really exciting part of my career. And I'm happy to say I've been on my own all these years. And now, fast forward, 25 years later, it's amazing that a lot of the same strategies that I was working on in the 1990s are still available today. And the reason for that is, unlike many people that do tax minimization, a lot of those people focus on tax shelters. These are short-term solutions they come up with. They read into the law and they say, okay, I've got a strategy here. I can get a legal opinion and protect myself. What I always focused on is things that are black and white in the tax code. So these are things, for example, as you said, a tax-free income plan. What is that? Well, most retirement plan 401ks allow us to get a deduction on a pre-tax basis. But when we pull the money out, it's taxable. Yep. So the problem we have is we don't know what the tax rates will be when we pull that money out. And that really gives us quite an uncertain retirement income profile. and we
Mhm.
really just don't know what the tax rates will be. So what I've always focused on is the certitude of creating plans that were completely tax free. So when you wanted to access those plans later in life, they produced tax free income. So at least we can at least have that certitude that there was no tax payments due. We may
Now, with
not
that,
know exactly what's the amount that we'll have. It might be more
yeah.
dependent on the performance of a market index, for example. But we did always focus on knowing that that income would be tax free. And for the most part, I'll make it real simple. People
Yep.
don't realize, but cash value life insurance grows
Uh-huh.
tax free. And one of the benefits is that there are products that correlate to the stock market. You can get the full upside without any cap in many insurance products that have a tie to the equity markets. There are some that have a cap, and that
Yep.
cap might be tied to an index like the S&P, but there are also uncapped indexes. So it's pretty
Well, I
exciting.
do want to talk. I do want to talk more about that with you because I'm familiar with these a little bit, and again, the ones that I was familiar with had caps, so it'll be interesting to kind of contrast the two. Okay, here's our first science question, and it's just a reminder, Jason, if you know the answer, don't say anything quite yet. All right, what is the most abundant element in the universe? We're talking science now. Call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate. Want to make a quick mention here for Integrity Electric. Call them to check out what a Tesla Powerwall can do for you. integrityelectric.net. Again, the trivia question is, what is the most abundant element in the universe? All right, stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, along with my special guest, Jason Mandel. Our first trivia question on science. Which is the most abundant element in the universe? Jason, you know the answer to that one?
I happen to know that because my daughter was just studying this. It's hydrogen, I think, right?
Hydrogen, that is
Yes.
correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I only
very.
know that. I wouldn't have known that without my daughter telling me.
That's okay. Yeah. So far you're 1 for 1. All right. So we're talking when we cut to break, you were starting to mention some of these life insurance products where now, if I remember correctly, you don't get a tax deduction for putting the money in, but it grows tax free. And then when you pull the money out, it's tax free. Because if I remember correctly, you can't get all three benefits. You get 2 out of 3. And with
That's
like an
right.
IRA, you get the tax deduction going in, the tax deferral, but then you have to pay taxes coming out. So you did mention about, excuse me, on this specific insurance product, no cap. And why don't you get a little background for the audience as to what you're talking? I know what you're talking about, but for the audience's sake, so that they understand how these index type. Is it an index universal life policy?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Generally, how
there's
does it work?
Yeah, so most people are familiar with term insurance. God forbid you're
Mhm.
hit by a bus, your family's not on the street. You could end up having a life insurance benefit, just pure death benefit. People buy it for mortgage protection purposes, income replacement. That's what most people buy insurance for, and it's sold out of fear. That God, if you're not here, your family is going to be in trouble. Is a whole nother world of insurance, of permanent insurance. It doesn't end at a term. Term tends to be 10, 20, 30 years. Now there's some 40-year products, but there's another classification of permanent insurance. Many people may have been approached who buy whole life insurance. This is a bond alternative or CD alternative. You would get the tax-free growth instead of getting taxed on a CD income of 5% or buying bonds that are taxed. Here, you get a dividend from an insurance company, call it 5 or 6%. It grows tax free. That's a very common type of insurance. It gives people the ability to borrow later in life and to give their family a death benefit, but also give some amount of money they can borrow. The product I was referring to is another form of permanent insurance called Indexed Universal Life, where instead of getting a bond like return, you could get a stock market like return, more upside. It's not guaranteed. In the event that the market was to go down, you would not get a positive return. But these products are principal protected, so you would not lose value. So you would have the upside of the stock market in indexed universal life with no downside. So for people that are maybe in their late 40s or 50s or 60s or looking to avoid losses and they're trying to plan for retirement, Indexed universal life gives you the upside of stock market indices without the downside. When you look at markets like Japan, for over 30 years, it's basically been a trading market. There's been no real growth in those markets. And for people that invested hoping to have a big retirement account, they don't have it. They only got their principal that they put in after 30 years. Not
Yeah.
very compelling. And if we have that type of trading market, these products are particularly compelling because every year when the market's up, we could capture the upside. So if we're in an
Okay.
index like the S&P, we would have a cap. There is a cap when you have a market index like the S&P, but I represent 45 different insurance companies. Many of them have products that are uncapped. They're an index, not the S&P, but maybe, for example, Societe Generale Bank has a product called Pace Setter that National Life offers as a big insurance company. It has an uncapped upside of a diversified basket of equities and bonds.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's
So when that happens, now let's say the value is $100,000, and the next year it goes up 10%. You're at 110. Is that now the floor?
yes, it's one of the
Okay.
most compelling parts. The next year the
Yeah.
market goes down 40%, you're at zero. You haven't lost any money. And if the
Well, you're
market
back at 100. You're still at
still at
110.
110,
100,
yes.
110. Okay.
And then
Yeah.
if the market bounces back after the collapse, you get that upside again. You don't have to wait for a compounding to bring you back to even the way you would with a regular index
Yeah.
fund. So I'm
Exactly.
a big believer in this.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty. It's really interesting because I know the ones that have like the caps, that are like 13% or whatever, which is not bad. Problem is when it goes up 25%, they capped you
You
at
miss it.
13.
That's
So
right. I don't like that.
there's no free lunch. So does the insurance company have higher internal fees to cover that? Because how can they guarantee that it doesn't go down?
Well, I think we have to maybe share with the audience the fact that people have this perception of what an insurance company is. Insurance companies today really are investment companies and marketing companies. They offset the risk of mortality to reinsurance companies like Gen
Yeah,
Re or Munich Re.
Henry. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
really, what they're doing is they're trying to come up with a compelling reason to have you hand them your money and for them to invest it. And they capture the spread. Now, the
But
real secret
yeah,
the,
go
the
ahead.
secret of the insurance industry that I call it the dirty secret nobody likes to talk about is the lapse rate phenomenon. Could you imagine
Yeah.
an industry where 98% of the products sold are never used by consumers? And
That's
that's in
a great
effect
deal for the company, sure. It's
great
the same
deal.
thing with like disability insurance. But
Yep.
hardly anybody gets disabled, and then eventually they retire. I mean, I used to sell a lot of disability insurance to dentists. I think I had just a handful of claims. The rest of them, they wanted it because of God forbid if something happened to them, they
Peace
couldn't
of mind.
practice
Peace of
dentistry.
mind.
But eventually they retired because I've been in the business a long time. And all that money was down the rat hole, so to speak, But I mean, just like term insurance. Tell you what, we're going to cut to our next commercial break here. It goes fast, but this is interesting stuff. I like this. I do want to make a mention here for Polio Restaurant in San Francisco. It's been voted by San Franciscans as one of the best restaurants. So it's the hometown folk who say that it's one of the best. It's Polio, Palio. Okay, here's our second trivia question. What is the hardest natural substance on Earth? Call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate, which is worth about $100. That's our trivia question. What is the hardest natural substance on Earth? All right, stay with us. You are listening to The Best of Investing with Edward Brown and our special guest, Jason Mandel. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Jason Mandel. Our second trivia question on science. What is the hardest natural substance on Earth? Jason, what's the
This
answer?
one I know it's obvious because I have a wife that loves this substance. She always tells me that it's the hardest side. That's why she wants me to keep buying her more and more of it. I'm not kidding. I know this one. This has to be diamonds. My wife says
Yeah,
it all the time. Am I
it
right?
is. It's so funny. We were just talking about it today that my wife said, you know what, my birthday's coming up, and I'd like a pair of earrings. I said, wait a minute, didn't I just get you a pair? And she goes, well, that was for Christmas. And I go, how many ears do you have?
Exactly. Oh my God,
All
too
right.
funny.
So this
Was I
is kind
right?
of
Is it diamond? It is. Yeah.
it is diamonds. Yes, it
Oh, okay.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny.
The next question is a little harder though.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
We have to kind of tease you with these easier
Uh,
questions. Okay. So, Jason Mandel, you were talking about these specialized insurance products. Talk about this. We were just off air. We were talking about you're starting to introduce this idea of premium help. Go ahead and
finance.
explain that to the audience.
Yeah, I mean, I
Assistance.
have a core belief, Edward. I think a lot of people are comfortable going to an auto dealer and buying a car that maybe they don't have the cash to buy right now, but they get a lease or they get a car loan. I
Yep.
know a lot of people buy homes and they get a mortgage, of course, and they don't
Of course.
necessarily want to live in the house they can afford for cash, and they want to get the bank's help in a mortgage. Yet, when we look at tax free retirement planning, I can't think of too many people who have come to me and said, well, why can't I work with a bank to finance the right amount of tax free income that I know I'm going to need when I retire? Why do I have to pay for it out of my pocket right now? Why can't I go to a bank? I've always said to people, life insurance is a principal protected asset. It cannot go down in value. And I remind people that there was a famous Supreme Court case in 1911, Grisby versus Russell. And the famous jurist Oliver Wendell Holmes
Yeah.
ruled that life insurance is property with the same benefits as real estate property. So you
Huh.
can go to a bank, and just like you can go to a bank and get a mortgage on a house, you can go to a bank and get, in effect, a mortgage on your retirement plan. Yet nobody thinks about this. And I have been a proponent
Well,
in my
okay, because
career.
you're not allowed to pledge an IRA as collateral. That's
No,
against the
well,
rule,
and when
I
I talk,
believe.
that's right. This is a
Yeah,
different kind of retirement plan. You're exactly
yeah.
right. This
Because
plan that we're talking about is utilizing an insurance contract property. This is
yeah,
going to a bank, financing the right amount of premium that you need in order to create the amount of tax-free income that you want later in life. So if you know that you need $20,000 a month tax-free to live on because you have a high expenses, then you need to plan properly and you need to put a plan in place. And the only way to do that for most people who are using their income to live is to finance a plan. And because there are products that are principal protected, you're not borrowing money from a bank and buying real estate and putting 20% cash down. You could finance 100% of the plan premiums because the bank knows that this plan is guaranteed and cannot go down in value. Now, the trick is when you buy, go
yeah.
ahead,
I was going to say, how does the bank secure their loan?
they
Because they
want to
can't own, they're not
fully,
going to own the policy, and they're not going to be a
no,
beneficiary. How do
that's
they
right.
protect themselves
The
from being
bank
canceled?
wants, they are so conservative, these banks, they want 100% collateralization. So, one
Yeah.
of the things that the insurance industry hates me for is the fact that I have been a proponent of the usage of something called an enhanced cash value rider. It's a lot of fancy words, and it basically means that the insurance brokerage commission is mitigated. And if there is a commission paid, it's spread out over many years. So the policy, a normal policy, pays a big chunk of the first year premium out to the insurance broker. And
Only if only like on because I know obviously I know a little bit about this stuff. The if you do something that does not constitute a MEC, a modified endowment contract, then most of the premium is going into a very small a commissionable part because the big commission's paid on what would be considered the cost of the life insurance, like the term part. So in other words, if someone wants to buy, let's say, a term policy and it costs $1,000 a year, the broker might make $600-700 in the first year, and very little or nothing thereafter. But if the client buys a universal type policy and the premium's $10,000, they still only get roughly $600 or $700 on the first 1,000, and they might get like a 5% commission on the overage. Isn't that about
that is
right?
certain products, you're right, Edward, but there are
Okay.
also products that pay upwards of 100% of the first year premium to the
Hmm.
broker. And those products, which are high fee products, if you were to go to a bank and tell the bank that you want to post the policy as collateral, they would ask for what is the cash surrender value.
Correct.
And if the
Yeah.
cash surrender value is zero because it all went out to a broker, then there's no money in the policy to pledge as collateral for the bank loan. We use that enhanced cash value rider to give the client the best cash surrender value available in the industry. So when they finance a policy with a bank, most of the collateral can be found right inside the policy that's being financed. It's
So if you're the
incredibly exciting.
broker, so if
You're
you're the
not happy.
broker,
If you're the broker, you're not happy
I
with
was
this
going to say,
idea.
yeah, rather than
You
make
are
this
pissed
big
off
chunk,
at Jason
you're-
Mandel. You don't like
yeah,
it.
you're well, no, but I mean, you're
Edward, without a joke here, without a joke, I've had 3 death threats from insurance brokers. This is not a joke. I'm not joking. I actually had to get a
sorry
body
for
guard.
laughing because death threat is
Yeah,
very
it's
serious.
actually quite
Hey,
scary for my family. But
but
my
I'll
ideas
tell you
have
what,
been
let's get
very
to our
controversial.
on that happy note. Let's get to our break here. Okay, here's our next science question: is what is the largest desert in the world? All right, I guess maybe the better question is where is it? Call 888-912-1190. First caller with correct answer wins that tanning certificate. Stay with us. You're listening to the best of investing. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to the best of investing. Edward Brown along with Jason Mandel. Our third trivia question. What is the largest or where is the largest desert in the world? You know this one, Jason?
I don't. Maybe the Sahara? I'm not sure.
One would think that. You ready for this? It's
Yeah.
Antarctica.
Wow, that's
Isn't that
cool.
crazy?
That literally
Yeah.
is cool. It's got to be freezing there. That's it. How can a desert?
I know.
Be cold?
I don't get, man. What's the definition of desert?
Wow.
Now listen, I got this on the internet, so you know it has to be true. And I do want to make a mention here also for the Tahoe Lakeshore Lodge. It's still I don't think it's snowing right now, so now's a good time to go up to Tahoe and go skiing and check out the Tahoe Lakeshore Lodge. Okay, so Jason, you're educating us on these various tips on how to work with these life insurance policies. And off air, you were starting to get into a couple of ones, good pieces of advice. And I go, wait a minute, hold on, wait till we get back on air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important to when you secure this foundational asset in your overall portfolio of a very large amount of life insurance. My concept is buy the amount that the insurance carrier will give you. It might be 20 times your salary. It might be a multiple of your assets today projected out until your projected mortality date with a compounding effect, an assumption of a 50% estate tax. You know, in 2 years, the estate tax exemption drops dramatically. So people that have a large net worth will be subject to estate taxes. So people should look at insurance as a solution. Now, most of my practice is helping people mitigate taxation, but I utilize the life insurance that we finance because I can use that as a tool to reduce other taxation. What I'm referring to is a strategy that I've been a big believer in for many, many years. And just recently, most of Wall Street and a lot of sophisticated investors are agreeing with me. For many years, I was running around and people were saying that can't be possible what you're describing. But my concept is for people to wrap their wealth inside of a tax immune vehicle. That if you had the ability, instead of owning your assets in an account in your own name, the Jason Mandel individual account at a brokerage firm, or instead of in an LLC, or in a trust where you've eliminated the estate taxes, but you don't eliminate capital gains taxes by having your wealth in a trust. My core belief over my career has been to wrap your wealth inside of life insurance, which sounds crazy. How do I take my brokerage account and put it inside of life insurance? And the answer is by paying a premium to a private placement life insurance company, which is another word for a variable policy, where the performance is not guaranteed on the investments because you hire a money manager like you would with any big brokerage firm. They're going to manage the investments for you. And if those investments go up, and the owner of those investments are no longer you or your LLC or your trust, but a life insurance policy is the actual owner, then one of the benefits of life insurance is the tax-free growth of the cash value.
Sure.
And the ability to borrow from that cash value tax free if the policy does not MEC, does not become a modified endowment
Yeah.
contract. So I really believe that people should consider who the taxpayer is. If you complain about paying taxes, it's because you have an entity that is a taxable entity. If
Well, what
you
about the
have,
W-2? You were talking off air about sheltering
yeah,
W-2 income.
oh
How
yeah,
are
that's
you thinking
another
about that?
strategy we utilize for clients.
Yeah.
That's our belief in using a donor advised fund, a DAF, as a strategy to mitigate W-2 or 1099 income. The IRS allows us to deduct up to 60% of our adjusted gross income, our AGI, can be deducted and given to charity. So my strategy that we utilize with top accounting firms and top law firms, been doing this for many years, is to advise our clients to donate to an LLC. The LLC is owned by a charitable entity, a DAF, a donor advised fund, and that DAF is the not is a not a taxpayer, of course, and you get a tax deduction when you give money to a charity. So the
Well,
benefit of
it's
this,
almost like a private foundation in a way.
similar. What's great about this structure is that as the managing member of an LLC, you can control that LLC. You have to give gifts every year to the charity, and eventually that charity must receive the money that you've donated. The IRS has strict regulations on taking a discount to the normal charitable deduction you get if you send the money directly to the charity. If it's held by an LLC, there's a discount, and that discount must be honored depending on the assets. We tend to only use cash because it's a pretty clear discount. And we
Yeah,
work with
sure.
our clients and
But
give
how
them
do
an
you
ability to
how does that affect the the W-2? I mean, I understand about the AGI, and usually it's a
yeah,
50% deduction
up to
maximum,
60 now.
but this is 60% for this one.
Yeah.
But is that how you're sheltering the W-2? Is what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
you
Okay.
get a tax deduction offsetting that W-2 income. Absolutely. And for
Except
a
that
lot of our
this
clients,
is going to be a below the line deduction, though,
mhm,
right? Because it's going to be part of your Schedule A itemized deduction rather than
that's right.
above the line
Yeah, we
where the
always say,
W-2
to be clear, I'm not a
is.
CPA. I want to be very clear. I work with CPAs and I work with lawyers, and those are the people that we work with in conjunction. I run what's called a multifamily office. So we're
Okay.
involved in helping our clients holistically. We deal with their legal structures, we deal with their accounting, we deal with their insurances, and we deal with their investments. But many times we act as almost a quarterback where we're working with all of their existing advisors.
Okay, Jason, before we have to cut the break, if people are interested in hearing more from you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, one way to reach me is at our website, themandelfamilyoffice.com. It's TheMandel familyoffice.com. I'm also
All right.
on LinkedIn, and they can look me up, Jason Mandel, Mandel Family Office. I post a lot of content there, and they're
Okay.
welcome. I'll do something crazy. I'll give you my cell phone, 917-603-2365.
All
917-603-2365.
right.
I actually respond myself.
All right. Great. Stay with us, audience. Best of Investing will be back with some closing comments. Don't touch. Okay. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Jason Mandel. We're definitely going to have Jason on again because he had a lot of good stuff. We probably only talked about 10% of what his knowledge is. So that's really cool. I do want to move on a little bit, mention about what we're doing at Pacific Private Money with our funds. One of them is a fund that I manage called the Southwest Fund. Being in this business for, 40 years, I have to, with all due humility, I have to think that this is probably the most conservative real estate mortgage fund out there. The reason is we're buying discounted mortgages. I just did the analysis. Our average loan to value is less than 54%. But that's the loan to value. We bought these notes at discounts. So we're actually below, I think it's 36% loan to value with no leverage. So for people out there, if there's anything more conservative, tell me about it because I'd love to know. We're paying just a flat 8.5%. There's no fees on that, and there's no lockup. You just need to give us at least 30 days notice when you want your money back. And we pay on a monthly basis. You can either take the monthly check or you can have it compounded. No losses. A very conservative fund. not much more to say about it except that we buy loans around the country. We started off primarily in Texas, then we kind of moved to other states. Interestingly enough, we're picking up some in New York, even though people are a little scared about New York with all the politics and stuff. But that's one of the reasons why we can pick up these discounted notes, even at a better pricing. And I don't think New York's going anywhere. Sure, it might have its issues, but I think it'll be coming back pretty soon here. Also, we do some work. We do a lot of work with a company called Scottsdale Mortgage Investments. They're primarily the ones who are feeding us these loans. And you can actually pick them up yourself on a discounted basis, one-on-one. I mean, we're buying millions of dollars worth in our fund. But for the average Joe out there who said, you know what, if I could get on their trade desk and maybe invest only, 50,000 or 60,000, some of the loans are even like 12,000. It's a good way, and you don't have to be an accredited investor for that. For our fund, you have to be an accredited investor, but for individual notes, you don't have to be an accredited investor. And these notes are all around the country. Mostly those notes will be non-performing, but you could potentially make a lot of money if you go through the foreclosure process. A house is worth $100,000 and the loan's only $20,000. You probably aren't going to lose too much, right? And the way to get on their trade desk is go to Scottsdale Mortgage Investments and click on I think it's the trade desk. So you can sign up, and no obligation, but at least you'll be on the list, and they'll let you know what loans they have available. And before we cut to our thoughts for the day, Jason, we have about 45 seconds left. Anything else you want to share with the audience for 45 seconds?
Yeah, I would just say that it's important for them to take an active role in their investment portfolio, and people are unfortunately just listen to an advisor. And I published a book recently called Demand Transparency. Hit #1 on Amazon on taxation, portfolio management, and insurance. I invite people to take a look on Amazon. I have a 99-cent digital version. And if you don't like it, I'll refund your money. But I do think we do talk a lot about some alternative strategies. And I think the traditional asset management firms do not offer strategies like what you described, Edward, and strategies that I pursue that are not correlated to the market. I hope people consider other non-traditional strategies.
And did you say it was 99 cents?
Yeah, I have a digital
That's
copy.
an outrage. I won't stand for it. You'll hear from my attorney. That's too expensive.
Demand transparency. That's my core belief. Demand transparency.
All right, Jason, here's our thoughts for the day. So I remember being in so much debt that I couldn't afford my electricity bills. It was a dark time. And Edgar Bergen said, hard work never killed anybody, but why take a chance? All right, audience, tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free prizes for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long.